What is up, people of the internet? I'm so excited. I just dropped my plugin. It's called the Gross Button. I've been working on this for a while and I'm super excited to finally just have it out for you. This is absolutely just a giant passion project for me. So I'm just really happy to finally just full send it, show it to everybody, have you try it out. Hopefully you guys like it. If you've already bought it, thank you so much. I mean, I'm doing this DIY, so, you know, I've got no big company behind me helping me out with marketing or really any expenses. So if you already bought it, thank you. If you're here to learn more about it before buying, or if you bought it and you're here to just find out a little bit more about, you know, what it does, then you're in the right place. We're going to kind of free ball it. I'm gonna go into my DAW here and go through kind of what it does, and I'm gonna play some examples of riffs, vocals, synths, pads, samples, anything I can put it on to kind of show you different use cases for it. So let's go check it out. All right, let's just jump into it. So we've got the Gross Button. So I think first, let's go through all the different settings. So at the bottom, you can disable it and enable it. You've got 3 different scenes. You've got the Gross Button scene, which adds a semitone up. You've got Disgust, which adds a semitone down, which honestly, they're not super different from each other. I just think that the Gross is a little bit brighter and Disgust is a little bit darker, just because one is like a higher note and one's a lower note. And then you've got Putrid, which is technically 3 notes at the same time, so you have like what you're playing, and then there's a semitone up and down, so it's like super chaotic sounding. The Nuke knob is basically an input gain. So if you want like super crispy DIs, you can put that up at 100%. But if you're using really hot pickups or something, then I would recommend turning it down a bit. And then we've got the Sicken knob, which is basically a wet mix. It doesn't affect the dry signal, but the affected sound, the wet mix, you can turn that up or down. So like 100% is like you're hearing it all the way. But if you're not going for that kind of sound and you want it to be a little bit more subtle, you can tweak this knob to your liking and what fits best for what you're trying to go for. And that's basically it. All this stuff is automobile. I don't know. You can automate any of it. So let's say you wanted to start a riff with the wet mix all the way down so you can't hear the affected tone, and by the end of the riff it's like all the way. You could automate that to 100%. Let's try that, but first let's just listen to a couple examples. We're gonna go first one. This is just like some throwaway random thing I tracked just to kind of show you the idea. So I'm using the Thal amp for this, basically. No Gross Button on this first one, so let's check it out. All right, let's turn it on, and we're gonna do the Gross setting first and see how this makes a difference. So you can already hear like a pretty big difference. It's definitely gross. That's the whole idea, right? Let's switch over to the Disgust setting. Like I said, it's not super different, but it is a subtle difference. And you know what? I just wanted to have all the options. So let's check that out. And now, let's go balls to the wall and do the Putrid mode. Very cool. Very crazy. Very sick. Oh my god. let's check it out. that one I feel like you could definitely hear the biggest difference between the first two. Like I said, kind of similar, a little bit different, but the last one is like a huge difference, especially if we go back and listen to like no gross button at all. You can hear like, whoa, this is a big difference. And then, like I said, you can automate all of this. So let's look at this one. Let's center it. If I wanted to come in here, let's say we wanted that tapping part to have no effect on it. We can turn the wet mix down all the way and then like automate it up as we go. So let's check that out. 100%, put it down to 0. So this is gonna fade it in. Let's check it out. So you can fade it in like that. That's a cool way to use it. You could fade it out. You could mess with the input gain. Pretty much anything you want. I mean, I feel like most people aren't gonna have this on a lot. This is more of an accent piece, but I'm just showing you the different things you can do with it. So automate it to your heart's content. Yeah, I think that's everything for guitar wise. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You've got the on off switch, you've got your 3 different modes, and you got your 2 knobs. I mean, it's basically supposed to be plug and play. Let me also mention this. You should probably put this at the beginning of your guitar chain. Doesn't necessarily have to be. But I've tried it after the guitar amp, and I don't personally like the way it sounds, but if it ends up somehow working for you, then huge party. But I like to put it at the beginning of my chain, or like really before anything else. All right, that's guitar. Let's move on and check out some other examples. All right, let's check out an example of the gross button on vocals, which is a little bit of a weird one because vocals can be a little hairy. I'm just using the gross button and the screamer plugin from Ablaze, which is basically just like a vocal processing. It's like one plugin that basically make a chain on it. Also, shout out Ablaze. They made the gross button as well. So let's just go all in and check out an example with the gross button on first. All right, let's turn it off and see what it sounds like. Just no gross button. All right, so I'm sure you can hear a little bit of a difference. It might be hard to tell in the mix, so let's go ahead and solo the vocals so you can kind of really dig in and see what this sounds like. So let's listen with the gross button bypassed. So just the regular chain. Beneath the facts on earth, we fall. All right, so that's what that sounds like. Let's add the gross button and check her out. Beneath the facts on earth, we fall. So I feel like it adds, I don't know, it feels a little bit louder. That's partly the input gain. But it also adds this like kind of widening effect, a little bit of like a doubling effect, which makes sense because we're artificially putting in like semitones in this. So yeah, just it gives it a little bit of a wider feel and sound. This is something I probably wouldn't use on like an entire song of vocals, but it could be cool to mess around with like maybe a couple lines of a breakdown, or like maybe backing vocals or like left right vocals to add it as an effect. It could also be cool to like automate in like the mix. So your scream, maybe if you're doing like a held out scream, you start from like 0%, and by the end of it it's like at 100. So let me pull up kind of what settings I have here. So I'm using the putrid setting, so it's like, you know, the max heavy setting. I've got the nuke, which is the input gain, down at like 40%. It doesn't really need it, to be honest. Like, you could really just turn it off because these are already pretty loud. And then the sicken, I've got that at 50% because I feel like at 100%, there's this weird kind of, I don't know, like almost CPU breaking your computer kind of sound. It's like kind of clippy a little bit. But at 50%, it feels pretty good. It adds like a cooler effect that way. But that's how I'm using it. Anyway, let's move on. All right, this is going to be a quick example. I've got this sample of this like synth kind of background lead thing that in this specific writing case, I wanted everything to sound like really, I don't know, nasty. I ended up putting the gross button on the sample. So let's see what it sounds like on a sample. All right, let me solo this so we can really like check it out. So let me turn off the gross button, and this is what the sample sounded like. So we had this like glitchy kind of synth thing, and I was like, I just want it to sound more disgusting, you know? Because it's like a really heavy part, so I just wanted it to just really be amped up. So let's listen to it with the gross button on. So it's a really big difference in this case, and I think it's really cool to be able to do that. I mean, I basically made it as a guitar plugin, but the idea really is that anything you want to sound like super nasty, you can add it on there. Again, thank you guys so much. Like, it's truly just a dream to be a part of this. I had some help from Yohem from Ablaze Audio. Very nice guy. He's the guy who developed it. Well, him and his team helped me with this. Lovely people. Insane shout out to them. Shout out to Holographics for helping me make the UI. I'm just really happy to finally have this out, and you know, I hope you guys enjoy it. Please check it out. Thanks again, everyone. I'll see you around.